friends. Thanks for being here tonight. My name is Crystal if you're new here. Welcome to my channel. We are making cooking great again. And I know you're probably wondering, why do I have all these large bowls in front of me? Well, I am actually going to make up several large batches of pizza dough. And then I am going to roll out 12-inch pizzas to par bake. And I'll put them on these foil lined, these are actually cake boards. You can see that. I actually got them at Walmart and then covered them in foil. And then after you par bake the pizza crust, you put your toppings on, and then you want to freeze it and then cover it in plastic wrap. And then you'll be able to just take one out of the oven and bake them like you would if you were to buy them at the store. Only they're going to be with your ingredients and you know what's in them for the most part, and they'll be delicious. I'm also going to make a few of them for dinner tonight. And I know you can buy the foil pans on Amazon, but I think the cheapest I saw was like $27 for maybe 15 of them. Well, 2 of these with 7 in each pack, so a total of 14, cost me $10. And I have an abundance of aluminum foil, so I thought, well, I can wrap my own and do it. And not only that, but once we use these, we can take the foil off of them and use them again and put new foil on them. So I figured that would be efficient to work that way. So what we're going to do now, I have cooked up some meat already, which I'll go over all the ingredients and everything once I get a little further along, but I do want to get the dough rising. And so the homemade pizza crust that I'm going to make, I'm actually going to use bread flour. So I do have this bag of bread flour that I did purchase for this purpose. Again, unbleached, unenriched. And I did actually find this at Costco, so that was wonderful. So I could get the large bag for, I think it was like $10. That was a really good price. And so what we're going to need per batch, I'll just go over this with you, is 2 1/4 cups of bread flour, 3/4 teaspoons of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon to 3/4 teaspoon of instant yeast, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then about a 7/8 cup or 7 ounces of cold water, and then cornmeal for dusting. So I did heat some water on the stove to cool off with cooler water to kind of mix it. So I'll get those measured out for each one for the 7 ounces. That's just about a cup. So I'll grab that, and then I'll grab a spoon for the flour so we can measure that out as well. You can probably hear me over here dinging, sorry. So that'll be for our cups of flour. And then we have the one for the water, and I do have some tablespoons out. Let me grab a 1/4 cup measuring cup also. That way I'm not guessing. Now to go over a little bit of some of the toppings or options, things I'm going to make. You can probably hear my little dog over there. I did cook up some shredded beef. That's for Philly cheesesteak, so I'm going to make some Philly cheesesteak pizzas. I cooked up some Italian turkey sausage, and I do also have some turkey pepperoni. My husband and my son love chicken pizzas. So my son likes an Alfredo with chicken and pesto and red onions. So I did grab this rotisserie chicken. So I do have to cut the meat off of here. And then my husband likes a barbecue chicken pizza. So we'll do his with barbecue sauce and some red onion. And I'll get those diced up or sliced up as well. And I do have some of my homemade home canned pizza sauce. It's a little thinner than I like, so I'll probably add some tomato paste to it. I also have some of the canned mushrooms I did the other day that we'll use for a topping. Green bell peppers, because what Philly cheesesteak can you have without green peppers? So we'll get those diced up. And then I have regular onions, or yellow onions. And I did get a jar of Trader Joe's Alfredo sauce. And I also have some basil pesto that I made from some basil from my garden that I'll use. And I have some red tomato basil pesto, so we'll use that as well. I do have some fresh basil as well because I may do a marguerite pizza. And as far as cheeses go, I do have to shred some cheese. So I have cheddar cheese for the barbecue pizza. I'm going to shred this 5-pound block of mozzarella cheese. I do have slices of provolone, so we'll use that for the Philly cheesesteak pizza. And then I have this Parmesan cheese, so I'll also shred this up for using. And I think, well, no, I do have this mozzarella also, the sliced mozzarella. So if I do the margarita pizza, that'll work with it. And then I also have this spicy Italian chicken sausage that I may do kind of like a meat lovers, also that my husband will enjoy. So the first thing we need to do, now that we have a lot of the toppings out and we know what we're going to make, is get our pizza dough going because we need to give it time to rise. I'm also going to add a little bit of Italian seasoning into the pizza dough. I like the flavoring. And once we get this all mixed together and where we want it, then while that's happening, I'll probably work on shredding all the cheese and cutting the chicken up and the veggies. So let's go ahead and get, I think we'll do a double batch in each bowl, which each batch will give us 3 9-inch, or I'll make them into 2 12-inch pizzas. We'll see, we might be able to get 3, but I'll go ahead and add them in my bowls and we'll get started. Oh, cleaning pizza dough everywhere. So what we're going to do first is, oh goodness, make a mess of ourselves with flour since we're not wearing an apron. So we're going to get our flour, salt, and our instant yeast in each of the bowls. Since it's instant yeast, we're going to go on and add it with the flour and the salt. Now you can use an electric mixer if you want, but since I'm doing so many large batches, I think I'm just going to do each one by hand. I do have my mixer out, but I'm also going to use that to shred the cheese. So I'll go ahead and measure double batches in each of these for right now to start. So we're going to need 4.5 cups of bread flour per double batch. Kind of fluff it up a little bit so it's not all compacted. And this should be enough for all of that. So do you have a favorite pizza or a favorite place to go to for pizza? I like making my own pizza. I wouldn't say that I necessarily have a favorite go-to restaurant for pizza. So that's why for me it's just easier to make my dough up and to do this and put it in my freezer. So that way when I want pizza I can just grab this out and make it as if I were doing a store-bought pizza and then have a fresh homemade pizza. And hopefully this will inspire you to, you know, try making your own and seeing how you like it. I just really find whenever I make things from scratch, they just have such a better flavor. And not only that, but I think you really appreciate them more because of the effort that you've put in. So that's also a plus. I better get this started. It's getting pretty late. I already worked all day today, so by the time I got home and started this, I didn't get dinner done too. So this will double as dinner tonight too. I think I'm going to add one more batch to this larger bowl. And whatever I don't use or make up into regular pizzas, you can freeze this dough also in dough balls. And then just take it out when you're ready to use it into the refrigerator and let it defrost overnight. And then you have homemade dough ready to make your pizza from scratch then. So I'm going to add 2 1/4 more cups of flour into this bowl. I definitely have the room for it. There's 2. And we'll get our 4th. Alright, that should be all of the flour that we're going to need. I think we maybe used half of the bag. But yeah, that's probably just about half of that bag, so it's pretty good bang for your buck. All right, so now we're going to add in our salt, which is about 3/4 teaspoon. So I'm going to use, let's see, I think I have in a 1/4 teaspoon measure. Yeah, I do. Well, actually, if I'm tripling in this one, yeah, let's do it this way. I'm just going to do 3 teaspoons. I don't mind the salt on the crust. This has 2 batches, so I'm just going to do 2 and 2 here. So that should be all the salt that we need to add into the recipe. And then now we're going to add the instant yeast. And this is my instant yeast I do keep in the freezer. I did confirm it's instant yeast. I had to look at one of the packages that I have in the garage freezer. So for this, it calls for a 1/2 teaspoon of instant yeast. I was about to put a tablespoon. All right. I'll use the whole teaspoon here, and I'm going to do a heaping. And a heaping here. And a heaping here, and another 1/2. So that should be plenty. I'm going to go ahead and stick this back in the freezer. That is where I put my yeast. In my kitchen freezer. All right. So now that we have these all ready, we're going to give them a slight mix together, and then we'll get our oil and other ingredients added. I'm just using my Danish dough hook, or dough whisk, to mix all of that together. And the reason I wanted to use these larger bowls also, because I'm doing them by hand, is it'll be easier to knead them in the actual bowl. I won't have to pull them out and put them on the counter to knead them. So that'll make it much simpler. All right, so that looks good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the oil and the cold water and mix that in. So for one batch, it's 2 tablespoons of oil. So I'm going to need 2, I'm going to need 4 in each of these and 6 in this one. So we'll grab our olive oil and we'll get that poured in. Yeah, I hope that you're not intimidated with doing scratch cooking. If you are, it's really simple. I mean, if you can follow instructions and directions, I would start out doing recipes that way. And then once you get more comfortable, then you can always branch out and, you know, make changes or decisions on items that maybe you like in a different way or you like it another way better. But the only way to do it is just to get in the kitchen and do it. So there's all of our oil. And now what we're going to get in here is our water. I'm going to set this aside. Oh, right. Nope. I think I spilled some oil on my paper there. All right. And now for the water. It says cold. I'm going to put just a little bit of warm with the cold water, just for activating the yeast, and just a little bit, not a ton. So, all right, that should be what we need 2 there, and then we'll get our 2 in here. All And we're going to do 3 in this one. And we may need more water. We may need more flour. It just depends on the consistency of what it does once we get everything mixed in. Oh, right. So there's all the water that we need. Now I'm also going to go ahead and add the Italian seasoning that I'm going to put in the dough. And I'm going to add, well, it's 1.5 teaspoons per recipe. So 3 teaspoons in those and 4.5 in the other one. You really don't have to measure it, but I'm just going to this time. So smells so good. I love this Italian seasoning. I actually get it from Azure Standard, and it's really delicious. It's definitely my go-to when I'm making soups or anything I want to spice with it. I love this Italian seasoning. But if you've never heard of Azure, I know they're not a sponsor, but I like getting a lot of products from them, and you can buy in bulk for a great price. I'll just set that down, and we'll just kind of get everything stirred in and see how we are from there. I'll go ahead and do this one bowl with you, and then once I get this done, I'll bring you back after I get all of the dough mixed up and together into a ball and then oiled and let it rise. So you can see it's starting to come together. It's still a little dry, but it's supposed to be shaggy. And then once it comes together, it'll make a nice smooth ball. So we're just doing the initial mix this way. Oh, this bowl has a tendency sometimes for the bottom to pop up like that. I'm going to go ahead and take my ring off, give my hands a little wipe before I get in there. Alright. Okay. So I probably should take my watch off too. it might get in there. We don't want to do that, so. Daisy, what are you doing? I'm sorry, you can probably hear my little dog back there. She sniffs everything, and she sniffs very loudly. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. You see it's sticky. So once we work this in together a little bit, then we'll be able to bring all of that together. If we don't fling it everywhere. So, yeah. I should be able to. Now, if you're doing it in the stand mixer, you would probably put your dough hook in and then just mix it for about 5 to 10 minutes till it comes together in a dough ball. But since I'm doing it by hand, I'm going to work it in this way. And if we need to add more water, then I'll add more water to it. Just kind of see how it's doing. If it's too dry, then that's what we'll do. But I do need to kind of give it a chance to hydrate and pull in some of the liquid and see what we need. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab some water to have it ready in case we do need it. This water is pretty cold. My Berkey keeps water fairly cold, so we're going to go ahead and add a little bit more in there. There it goes, popping up again. So we have a lot of dough in the bottom that's not mixed in, so I just want to get it mixed in. And you can see it's still a little shaggy, but it's starting to come together. And that's what we want. I would definitely probably recommend doing this in the stand mixer if you weren't making as big of a batch like I am. I mean, even if you are, you can just make smaller batches, but I figured this would be easier to just do it this way, get our dough going, get it kneaded, and then get it rising. So that's what we're gonna do. Maybe you've never kneaded dough before, you just bring it in with the palm of your hand, go down to work the dough in. And that's all you do to knead it. It's really actually simple. Sorry, this bowl. It's very loud, very noisy. I do apologize. Although it's a very nice bowl, it's very large and I appreciate it. I think I got it at like Costco. Believe it or not, it was like $6 for this large bowl at Costco. Costco business, I should say. It's a good thing that one's farther away from me. I don't get to go there very often, so I just stick to the regular Costco usually. That's by my house. But the business one's about an hour away. I happen to be out that way, so yeah, this was there. The smell is amazing, especially with the Italian seasoning. It smells so good. And you can see that it's not as bad sticky like it was or shaggy like it was. It's actually starting to come together, which is what we want. Again, I apologize for the bowl. I didn't realize it was going to be that bad with the kneading making all the noise, but yeah, it'll be fine. And it says, I think what is it? So if it was in the mixer, it would be 5 to 7 minutes. But we're going to keep kneading it until we get to a smooth, sticky dough. And we are almost there. So that's good news. And then what we'll do is divide it into our number of pizza dough balls for however many crusts. And then we can oil it at that point, or what I'm going to do is let it rest, and I will actually make the ones for tonight for dinner first so I can feed the fam. And then the rest of it I'll let just rise until I get it done, and we'll get them made into the 12-inch pizzas so we can get them baked, cooled, topped, and then frozen. So, as you can see here, it's really starting to come together well. I have some stuck on the bottom I'm going to grab. You can see right there, it's still a little sticky, which it should be, but it's coming together like a nice smooth ball. But we're going to keep going for at least another 2 to 3 minutes. I don't know if I really have a favorite type of pizza per se. I mean, I guess here lately it's been the Philly cheesesteak, but I don't think I have like a super favorite. Like, that's like the only pizza I'll eat kind of thing. Yeah. All right. I think that looks good. You can see that nice and smooth. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to wash my hands real quick, and then we're going to get our bench scraper. And yeah, it should be, see how it's springy and elastic? That's what we want. You can see that coming back. And we're going to, let's see, lightly oiled baking dish or platter. So we don't need to do that step because we're not freezing the dough like that. We're going to actually make the pizzas. So we'll let this rest for a minute. After we get it cut into the size pizzas we want, we'll start rolling them out. that done. Okay, I'm gonna grab a bench scraper here. And what I'm gonna do is weigh this out to get even amounts of the dough. And then we'll see how many ounces they are. And since I did a triple recipe, it initially would be it would be 6 9-inch pizzas, but I want to make 12-inch, so it will be probably 5 or 4 12-inch. I think maybe 5. We'll check them. I'll weigh them out and we'll see. I mean, I can always make them thinner and still get 6. So let's change that. Okay, so I'm just going to put the pizza dough on there because that bowl is huge. Okay, so we are at 67. All right, me and math, not the best. I think we'll get 6 should be a good number of these. Maybe more. Oh, shut off on me. Yeah, about 11 ounces will be good. So that'll be a good sized dough ball for our pizza here. You can see that. All right. Perfect. I could probably get away with just making them 10 ounces for each one and then go from there, but we'll see. We'll see what I end up with. That's way low. Very small. Work. So I should end up with 6 out of this batch. That was right on the money. Definitely luck. I'll distribute this a little more. It's a little bit bigger than the rest. Way a bit bigger. That'll work. Perfect. Yeah, so we got 6 out of this, which I'm going to make 3. So that'll leave 3 more there. And I should get 4 at least out of those. So that'll give me about 10 to put in the freezer. I feel good about that. Okay, so what I'll do is get these covered, let them rest, and then I'll get these done, and then I'll bring you back when I'm ready to roll these out. Okay friends, I'm back here. I was just going to show you, it took a minute to get all of the toppings and everything done here. So you can see we have red onions and yellow onions. I did mince up some garlic with olive oil, sliced mozzarella and provolone, and then I cut up bell peppers. These are some mushrooms that I canned the other day. I did cut up some chicken from a rotisserie chicken. This is some shredded mozzarella, and that's the rest of it. I showed you that was a 5-pound block. Some shredded cheddar cheese, and then this is actually that block of Parmesan. I do still have some basil. And then for our sauces, we have barbecue. This is my homemade pizza sauce, some Alfredo sauce. This is the shredded beef. And then this is the Italian turkey, Italian pepperoni, that's turkey. So I'm gonna get some dough rolled out, and that way we can actually bake some up for dinner for tonight. And then I'll start working on the ones that are gonna go in the freezer. So these are the dough balls that I have ready now. You can see they did plump up. So I'm going to get 3 of these rolled out for right now so I can make dinner. My husband making noise now. It's either Daisy or my husband or my son, one or the other every time. So I'm just going to roll the pizza out on here, the dough. For making this fresh. You can see everything here. There we go. And I'm going to grab some gloves for everything. So I'll make my husband's pizza here first. He wants the barbecued chicken, so it's going to be the barbecue sauce. I'm just using some Sweet Baby Ray's. So what I have on hand, I think I've prepped enough fresh homemade. Some red onions, chicken. What else do you want on it, dear? Shredded cheddar. Do you want mozzarella too?
Yeah. And
Okay.
red onion.
I'm sorry, and green onion?
Red onion.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. So we're going to take one of our pizza dough balls here, and we're just going to start doing this with it to get it spread out. Do you want a thicker crust or a thinner crust? Okay. You can see it's going real smooth now and rolling out for me. I do have this little roller tool that I can use that'll help me roll it out more to the desired size. Now, is it going to be perfect? No. Is it going to be delicious? Absolutely. Do I make anything that's not delicious, dear?
No.
Okay. Good answer. It's a good answer. Now, it may not be perfectly round. Is that okay? Are you going to be upset? And I'm going to just compare it to this because this is enough dough for a 12-inch. So that's actually a lot smaller. It looks like we'll only get probably one on this. So I'm going to put it in the middle to make it larger. And I'll get him and Alex's pizza. Alex is my son. Get their pizzas going in the oven. And then once I get those done, then I will make one that I like. Or maybe I'll just cabbage off theirs. And then I can start making out the crusts for the ones that we're going to par bake and put in the freezer. So now to make this fully or completely, we've got the oven preheated for 425. And then what I'm going to do is go in and get all of our toppings on it. And then pop it in the oven for about 12 to 13 minutes. So you can see that's a lot bigger. This is the perfect amount of dough. It was 11 ounces, I want to say it was, that I weighed out per dough ball. And let me compare it again. Oh yeah, that's going to fit nicely, if you can tell, when we go to freeze these. So that'll be good. Just make it a little thinner. And he also wants some of the garlic I minced up with olive oil. So I'll be nice and let him have some of that.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah. I feel like I'm turning into Mod Pizza. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mod Pizza, but I feel like that's what I'm turning into here. What's toppings? Everything you want, everything. What do you want? Okay, so we have our crust. It's not perfectly round, but it will work, and it will feed his tummy. So let me check here. Do you want mushrooms too?
Yeah, I'll take some mushrooms.
No green peppers,
No.
but red onion. Okay, so what we're gonna do first is put some barbecue sauce down on his pizza. In here. And I'm just literally gonna squirt it on. Now the difference is going to be when we make these for the freezer is I'm not going to put the sauce on first. I'm literally going to par bake just the dough, take it out, and then put the toppings on it. And we're just going to get our sauce as close to the edges as we can. That looks good. I did not get anything out to put this on. Sorry, I'll set it on the counter. It's gonna be wet. And then this is our garlic and olive oil that I blended up. That is strong. Very strong. Smells good though, doesn't it? It doesn't take much. So we're just gonna do it by hand and put some on the sauce because it's gonna melt into the sauce. So that'll be delicious. Put some on the top. There we go. Okay. Now I think what we're gonna do, let me check here. In the recipe, I just want to check real quick if we should go ahead and par bake the crust or add it all together. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we didn't do the pre-bake, but I think I'm going to pre-bake the crust before we add the toppings for both the pizzas. Just for a few minutes to give it a head start, and then we'll get the toppings added because all the toppings are cooked and ready. So I'm going to go and put this in for about 4 or 5 minutes. And then I'll start on Alex's. I'll go ahead and get Alex's started while that's pre-cooking. So his is rolled out now, and we're going to do the same with his. Just get his sauce on it, which he wants the Alfredo. So we will put some Alfredo on, and then garlic. He also said. So we'll just spread that around. It smells really good too. He loves Alfredo sauce on pizza instead of red sauce. Alright, that looks good. I will put that on the lid. At least I have that going for me. And then give him some of the fresh minced garlic. It's funny, I'm gonna wash my gloves. You can see it doesn't take long to roll these out, so once the dough is ready, so that's nice. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and rotate the pizzas. Take this one out and put this one in. Smells really good. So there's his crust. It's just a little par baked, which is good. And you can see it comes off there easy, so we'll be able to do that when we freeze them. just to give you an idea how that's going to go. Okay, I think I'll put your cheese first. And you said American or cheddar and mozzarella?
Yes, please.
Anything other kind of cheese?
Not that, take that.
All right. So this is some of the mozzarella. Just putting on here. We like cheese around here, so we keep a lot of cheese. Don't we dare? This is the cheddar. And I definitely recommend shredding your own cheese if you can, because it melts so much better. Do you want any Parmesan?
Yeah, I'll take some.
Okay. All right, there's cheddar. This is the Parmesan cheese. And put that on there. Oh, that smells amazing. Alex was having a hard time not snacking on the Parmesan while he was shredding it. Okay. Now we're gonna add our chicken, because this is barbecue chicken pizza. And you said red onions, no peppers, and some mushrooms.
Yes.
So we're gonna add some red onions. My husband is a huge red onion fan. You like it when I pickle them too?
Especially with barbecue. Yes.
Especially with the barbecue.
Yep.
Alright. And now we're gonna grab some of the mushrooms. These are the mushrooms that I home canned. Well, I'm gonna throw them all over the pan is what I'm gonna do, dear. You don't want any green peppers. A little bit of salt.
Yeah, I'll take some.
Salt or green peppers?
Salt.
Okay. Alright. That one I'm gonna have to get another glove for, because I don't want to get my salt contaminated. Alright. Just a little bit of salt across the top. Perfect. Now once that goes off, then we'll switch these out, and I will put this back in the oven for at least another 10 minutes to finish cooking this. So I'll bring you right back. Hey y'all, so if you can't tell, it is the next day, and so I just put the dough in these containers here, so they're good to refrigerate and then I took them out of the refrigerator this morning to rise again for about 2 hours. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and work on cooking up the dough for our freezer pizzas. I just ran out of steam last night, so that's why we're continuing through today. And I have 3 sheets lined with parchment paper, so I'll use one for each as I go. And then get them in the oven, par bake them for about 5 minutes. Then I'll pull them on a cooling rack to cool. And then what I'll do is add the toppings, and we'll get them in the freezer to flash freeze. So right now I'm just working on par baking all of the crusts. So you can see it's so pliable. It's a really good dough. And we're just gonna get this out to a 12-inch crust. I did learn from making our pizza for dinner last night that it's better to put a little lip on them because the toppings kind of run off. So I'll do that also. So I'll go ahead and I will get this out and then par bake and show you what that looks like. And then once we have them all baked up, then I will show you adding all the toppings, and then we'll freeze them so that way we can have them in the oven ready to go when we want homemade pizza. And we're just, like I said, we're just rolling this out to fit our 12-inch size pizza. I mean, those are good size pizzas. We really found that, I mean, my husband could eat a whole one to himself, but Yeah, not so much Alex and I. So we did have quite a bit of leftovers, but it was very delicious and definitely worth the effort to make your own crust. And I highly recommend adding the Italian seasoning into the crust. And I'm just going to put like a little lip here, you can see, as I finish rolling this out. So that way our toppings stay on the pizza a little bit better. And these are going to be thin crust also, so keep that in mind. Now, if you want them to be thicker, you would just make them smaller instead of the 12-inch. But that's the size I'm doing, is 12-inch pizzas. And then they'll fit on, again, the rounds that I bought, these cake rounds. And this is what we're going to put them on when we freeze them. I just wrap them in foil as a reminder. You can buy some on Amazon. They're a little pricey. I just figured with buying the cake rounds, which was, I think I got 14 of them for $10. With buying those, I put the foil on them myself, which is a fraction of the cost. And I can always, once they're used, and we bake the pizza, I can take that foil off and then add new foil and reuse them again. So there is that aspect of it. That's why the parchment paper is really helpful, being able to turn it like so and stretch out the dough. And if for some reason the dough is giving you problems and doesn't want to stretch out, so like the gluten is pulling it back in, let it sit for a minute or two, and then you'll be able to finish stretching the dough out to the desired size. Again, we're going for 12 inches, so they're not going to be precise, they're not going to be exact, but they'll be pretty close. And we can just compare with our holder here, and you can see that'll fit on there nicely. So I think that's a really good size here. Now I will go ahead and get the other two rolled out and get these in the oven. And then we'll start on the next ones. I have 11 to finish. Okay, so these two just came out. These are par baked now. So I just want to let these cool. You can see I can move them off here. They're still quite hot. But we're going to go ahead and just pull them off the pans, so that way they can completely cool before we put our toppings. I think I'm just going to put them on the countertop because it's pretty cool. And then I have 2 more ready to go into the oven. If I didn't mention, I'm baking these at 500 degrees for about 5 minutes, just for a par bake. And then once they cool, like I said, we'll add our toppings, and then we will par freeze them and get them wrapped up for the freezer. Okay, so we have all of our pizza crusts par baked now. As you can see, still some are a little warm. I just wanted to show you how the crust turned out. And remember, I put Italian seasoning in the dough, so that's what you're seeing in the dough. And they're not cooked all the way through, they're just par baked. So what I'll do now is get all of our toppings on them, and we'll pop them in the freezer to freeze, then we'll wrap them up, and then that's where they'll go until we're ready to have fresh pizza. Okay, so we're going to make a few different kinds of pizza. If you remember last night, I did cook up all the meat that I'm going to need. I have the beef for the Philly cheesesteak pizza we're going to make. I do have some Italian sausage that's turkey that I cooked up. I do have some turkey pepperoni. And I also have some rotisserie chicken that I had taken off of the rotisserie. Some green peppers, white onions, red onions. I also have, because I am going to make a margarita pizza for my daughter, so I have some tomatoes and I have fresh basil. And as far as cheese, I have some sliced mozzarella, shredded Parmesan, shredded mozzarella, and these are all fresh shredded, by the way. And I do need the cheddar cheese for the barbecue pizza. And then I have the rest of the Alfredo sauce. And I have marinara sauce, some of my home canned mushrooms, and the barbecue sauce for the chicken barbecue pizza. So I'll go ahead and make one of each. Then we'll pop them in the freezer to par freeze. Then we'll get them wrapped up. So let's go ahead and get started on here, because I do have some cool enough now that I can actually go ahead and complete. So I'm going to go ahead and do a Philly cheesesteak one first. For the Philly cheesesteak, I am using this pre-made Alfredo Trader Joe's Alfredo sauce. You can see me here. Let me make sure. So we'll put our Alfredo sauce on. Now, I did make one of these last night. It was super delicious. Turned out wonderful. Absolutely delicious. Now we're going to put our cheese on. I do need to get the provolone out also, because I like provolone on the Philly cheesesteak pizza, because we do like cheese in this house. So I'll go ahead and get some mozzarella on. Again, this is the fresh shredded mozzarella. I mean, can you ever really have too much cheese? I don't think so. I think the answer is no. So there's our mozzarella. I'm going to go ahead and put some of the provolone on. These are really thin sliced provolone, so that works out perfect. It just takes a minute to kind of separate it out. To get it to come apart, so that way I can add it. We'll just get this on our pizza. So do you have a favorite kind of pizza? I really like the Philly cheesesteak. I have to say, I think this one is my favorite. There's just so many options and things you can do with pizza. This is really having a hard time separating here. It's okay. We'll get it out a bit. And the provolone melts really well into the sauce with the cheese or the mozzarella. So it's super delicious. They're a really thin slice, so it's a bit tedious to try to get them apart. I apologize, it's taken just a moment. You can see there is, there's two slices here, but I'll just go ahead and do it that way. That's all right. It won't go to waste. I'm also going to put a little bit of Parmesan cheese on here. Again, this is fresh shredded, which melts so well. That's perfect. Now I'm going to get some beef and then my vegetables on it. So this is the shaved beef. I actually got this at Kroger and cooked it up, seasoned it, because, well, what's Philly cheesesteak without the beef, right? All right, so we're just going to get this on here. Again, it's just the shaved beef. It was kind of one of the inspirations for doing this because they had them on sale, and I was like, well, that'd be really good to make some Philly cheesesteaks, so let's get some in the freezer. And since this is the only meat I'm putting on this pizza, I do like to make sure I get it pretty covered. There we go. Get my hand to rinse. Now we're going to get our mushrooms, onions, and green peppers on. Again, these are just my home canned mushrooms, you can see. And there's no pretty way to do it. So I just dip in and grab some out. And this is why I love canning my own mushrooms also. Mushrooms are pretty expensive if you buy them already in the little cans, and they're little small, little bitty cans. So I do them in pints like this because I know I'll use them. We're gonna get some green pepper on here. Because, well, you can't have Philly cheesesteak without green pepper, can you? Looks so delicious. I know last night when I made one, it was absolutely divine. And then we're gonna use white onions for this pizza. I do have some red onions, but I'll use that like on the barbecue chicken and other applications. So we just get these on here. Make sure you get some in every bite. And I am gonna put some of the sliced mozzarella on here also. It's really good to put it on top, like in addition. I just put a few pieces of it. I got it at Costco, so I have a few packs or whatnot of these to use, and they melt really well on it. So I just take them apart and spread them out like this all over. And they just add a nice creaminess on top. You see how they just kind of shred apart, and that's it for that one. Give my hands a wash. So I'll let you see this a little closer. Oh, I put my finger in it. So this is a Philly cheesesteak pizza. Now we're gonna pop this in the freezer to par freeze it, and then we'll get started on our next one. Next one I'm going to do is a barbecue chicken pizza. So we just use our favorite barbecue sauce, Sweet Baby Ray's. You can make it homemade if you like. And we'll put the barbecue sauce down first. Get that spread out. Smells really good. I really like making things from scratch and then being able to have them made up and in the freezer for convenience. Especially having a teenage son who claims there's never any food in an ingredient house. But I do buy him snacks. You've seen my grocery hauls. So he does not lack or miss out. There we go. We'll just set this aside for now. So now that we have that down, we're going to go ahead and add our cheese, which again starts with mozzarella. So do you like to put your cheese first, or do you add your cheese on top? Because there is a difference. Some people do it the other way. I like the cheese to melt into the sauce. So by doing it this way, that's what it does. I think it just makes it just even more creamier and gooey and delicious. The one I made my husband last night, he said had a great cheese pull and he really enjoyed it. The flavor was delicious. So that was a great pizza. He really liked the crust too with adding the Italian seasoning. Had a really good flavor. So if you've never tried it with the Italian seasoning, I would suggest it. Again, I know I'm putting a lot of cheese, but can you ever have too much cheese on pizza? Maybe if it's falling off. Because then you're sad because you wasted your pizza or your cheese. I'm also going to put some Parmesan cheese and some cheddar cheese because he likes all of the above on his chicken pizza. I think traditionally it's made with cheddar cheese, but he likes both, so he gets both. There we go. Now we are ready to add some meat. I'm also going to make him some meat lover and kind of like supreme with veggies and all that good stuff. But first starting, we're doing his chicken barbecue pizza. And at the end, after I made it last night, he had a drizzle of ranch on it, and he really enjoyed it. I think I had that earlier video showing that, so I'll show you that. And this is our chicken. Like I said, we just got a rotisserie chicken, shredded the chicken off of it. And anything left out of it, like I said, it won't go to waste. We'll make broth out of it. So we did bag up the rest of it and put it in the freezer. So when we're ready to make some more homemade chicken broth, we have that ready. All right, that looks good. Then we'll go ahead and get him red onions, because red onions go better with barbecue pizza, as he says. So we'll get these spread out, and I just do them in these thin strips. Some of them are a little thicker, but he doesn't mind. All right, there we go. We'll call that good. Give my hand to wash. And I didn't mention with the Philly cheesesteak one with all the veggies, I did put a little bit of salt on top as well. But this is what our chicken barbecue pizza looks like, and I'll go ahead and get this in the freezer. Let me give you a better look here. Delicious. Okay, this next pizza I'm gonna make is the marguerite pizza, or marguerite, I'm not sure how you pronounce it properly, but it's one of my daughter's favorite. So I'm just gonna slice up these fresh cherry tomatoes for the pizza. I also have fresh basil that I did buy to make these. Anything I have left, I can always make into a pesto. And hopefully I'll be planting out my own basil soon. And hopefully my other basil comes back that I already have in the garden, so we'll see. This may be more tomatoes than we need, but that's okay. We'll get them all on there, along with the basil.
You gonna be done with that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna do them all right now. My daughter's just coming down. She's about to leave, and I'm gonna leave out soon. I'm just making one margarita pizza to show as an example. I'm putting in the freezer, since it's your favorite. So this will take about 2 minutes to get done. Get it in the freezer, and then I'll get all the rest of them made, and I'll show you all whenever they're done and they're frozen. So with this one, we are going to use red sauce. And this is my home-canned pizza sauce. Now it was a little thinner than I like it, so I did add some tomato paste to thicken it a little bit. I also ground up some fresh garlic in oil and added to it as well. And a little bit of extra Italian seasoning. Be safe, love you. Okay, so there is our marinara sauce added on there, like so. And for this one, I'm gonna put just a little mozzarella down on the sauce with some Parmesan, but we're really gonna cover it in that thicker sliced mozzarella as tradition for a marguerite pizza. Oh, I think she left the garage door open. That's okay. And this is our Parmesan cheese here. Delicious. Oh, let me close that. A little more Parmesan. Okay, so then we're just gonna place our tomatoes on here like so. These actually are pretty delicious with the fresh tomatoes. If you've never had a margarita pizza, it's tomatoes, fresh basil, sliced mozzarella. In my case, the Parmesan I added in the other mozzarella, which is fine. Oh, get that back on there. There we go. Usually I think it's more traditionally with larger sliced tomatoes, but this will work just fine. This is what I have. So this is what we're going to use. And I think that was just enough to get them all on there. So I'll set this aside. My handle wash. Now I need to go grab some fresh basil. And also I'm going to salt the tomatoes so they are salted ahead of time. Pardon me for the sniffles there. All right, so this is our basil. A little bit of salt over the top. That looks good. Now I'm going to put the sliced mozzarella first. Ooh. After I make a mess for no reason. And then I will add the, and I'm just leaving these whole like that. I'm not going to break them up. Then I will add the fresh basil onto the pizza. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper on the cheese too. Go. We can get these last two slices on here maybe. Perfect. Okay, so that looks good. And now we'll just get some more pepper on it and some of our fresh basil. I do use fresh ground black pepper. I just grind it ahead of time in my blender, and then I put it in my container here. So there we go. Some pepper on there. And then this is our fresh basil plant here. I'm just gonna rip these off. So I put on the top. They smell so good. If you've never cooked with fresh basil, I would recommend trying it. So delicious. We'll see how well they freeze on this. Now I can't say that I've ever frozen basil in this particular way. I make pesto and I freeze that. It does fine, but of course it has other ingredients in it, but that looks pretty good there. I think that'll do. Make sure all the pieces have some basil on them, so I think that'll work. We'll want to pop that in the freezer and then continue on. And I'll bring you back once we get all of them done. Let me show you a close-up of what this one looks like. And here is the margarita pizza. So I have these 3 pizzas now frozen, and then I have all the other crusts ready so I can finish making them up. But I did just want to show you what these look like. You can see they are pretty, even the basil, pretty frozen. So I'll get these wrapped up in plastic wrap. And the reason I'm using the plastic wrap is you can see what kind of pizza it is. And then they'll be ready for when we want to have a delicious homemade pizza. So I'll probably put a couple layers just to make sure it's well covered and protected. I was a little concerned with the basil, but it looks like it froze fairly well also. So I'm going to get these covered. But I was able to, out of all of the dough that I made, get a total of 11 pizzas to fill the freezer. So you can see this is what they'll look like in the freezer, and I'll be able to tell what they are and have them ready when we're ready to make some pizza, or have some pizza I should say. I'll go to put this long piece on. But thank you for joining me on this journey to fill my freezers with the frozen pizzas. I'll try to get a picture of all of them made up, but for now, I just wanted to show you this so you can see. I'll go ahead and get this back in the freezer, and I'll wrap these up and continue on. There you go, you can see it better here. Now you can see here that I have all the other doughs crusts covered. I have another one for barbecue. These are both Alfredo, and I put some minced garlic. This is actually a pesto Alfredo. That's a regular pesto with some more garlic. And then these three are regular pizza sauce that I'm going to make, and I'll show you once I get these done. All right, so we've got all the rest of the pizzas made up. So now they need to go in the freezer. That way they can par freeze, and then we can wrap them up. Just to recap here, we have 2 of the Philly cheesesteak pizzas. This is one chicken barbecue pizza. That one is more of like a supreme with all the meats, vegetables, and everything added on it with the marinara sauce. This one right here is one that my son asked for with the pesto, and then chicken, Italian turkey sausage, and red onion. This one is sausage. It's the Italian turkey sausage and some beef with mushrooms and red onion and marinara. This one is pepperoni, which is turkey pepperoni, and Italian turkey sausage with the red onions and the marinara sauce. And then this one has the Alfredo pesto with chicken and red onions. I did salt and pepper the tops of all of them because of all the vegetables. And we already have Italian seasoning in the crust, so we don't need to add anything else there. So like I said, I'll go ahead and get all of these in the freezer so they'll par freeze, so we can get them wrapped up. These are the pizzas we're gonna make. These are the pizzas we're gonna make tonight. I do have the oven set to 425. We have a pesto Alfredo with chicken and beef and onions. And we have a, I don't know, I guess meat lover veggie. It's got turkey sausage, beef, chicken, mushrooms, and onions. These are going to cook directly in the oven on the rack at 425 for about 15 to 20 minutes. And this is what they look like baked. Let me get them out and we'll cut them up. So these baked 15 minutes. I think the crust turned out really nice. Oh, that's hot. I'll show you in just a second after I cut a piece. And there's a nice cheese pool. And let me show you the crust. As you can see, it's crispy on top. This is really hot. The bottom looks really delicious as well. So this is what they cook up like, FYI. I do hope you try. All right, friends. Well, this is the end of making our homemade pizzas and freezing for the freezer. So I got a total of 11 to put in the freezer. They're all wrapped and ready now to go in the freezer. And I would suggest baking them directly on the rack for a crispier crust. But it feels good getting these into the freezer. And I know it's something that my family's going to enjoy. It's going to be a convenient food, but I know I made it homemade. But thanks again for watching. If you like this and content like this, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing. Have an amazing day.